Welcome back to another installment of the Conversation Starters podcast. My name is Pumenda Mini, and it's an honor for me to be back again in 2026. This is our first one for the year. And this time around, I'm not by myself. I'm with two guests who are going to introduce themselves shortly. I'm with Jasper and Yanni, and we're going to be talking about quite a topical thing that is happening currently, right? We're going to be talking about AI, the scary AI. And we're going to be discussing really how, as AFSUG and this community here, how can we support the local SAP network, the local SAP community in driving real impact with SAP AI. And I'm very, very excited because the stories we have here are real. We've got some real business cases that are going to be shared with us. And not only that, but we also have real experience between the two guests that we have today. So without further ado, I'm going to just ask our guests to introduce themselves, and starting with Jasper. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and what you do at the moment at SAP?
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me on this podcast. As you mentioned, my name is Jesper Sleimer, and I am the responsible for SAP Business AI in the EMEA region. And what it really means, if we are to unpack it, is really to help our customers scale value with AI, right? To really understand and overcome the challenges in adopting and scaling it, and really translating it into real business value. Working across the region, I see many different patterns, many different challenges, and we're very focused in SAP to make it concrete and real.
Perfect. And that's what we're going to be talking about, making it concrete and real, because I think everyone knows about it, but now how do we apply it into our real world? Yanni, I believe you've got great tools that you work with, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you currently do? And we'll touch on those tools a little bit later.
Absolutely, yes. I'm Jana Kitsia, and I work for APU's Labs. I've been here for quite a while, and as I am a computer scientist by trade, I am a UX UI enthusiast by heart. And I think that is where my passion lies, is putting people in the center of technology. And now in the age where AI is everywhere, bringing people into the context is quite important. I'm very excited about the whole conversation happening around the SAP ecosystem right now. The most practical and impactful that I've seen in years, where you
Yeah.
can take a technology and it makes a difference in a specific person's day at work. And that's kind of what excites me, and that's also where I find myself. I head up the APU's App House Pretoria, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. And that brings me very close to human-centered design, and that's what we do. If it is UX, UI, or just finding the right process or technology to solve a problem, that's what we do here.
Happy. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just want to check. Yanni, you in Pretoria, right? Or
Yes, I am.
Centurion side. And Jasper,
Pretoria.
you are where exactly in the world right now?
In the little bit colder side of the world, in Copenhagen, in the Nordics.
Okay, fantastic. Which explains the coat. And it also happens to be a cold day in South Africa today, which is actually very not usual for us. All right.
Yes.
Jasper, you talked to us about being the head of the AI strategy, right, at SAP. Can you tell us really what that means and what SAP's overall AI strategy for their customers?
Well, as you know, AI is not really anything new, right? It's the third wave we're into
Yeah.
now in this installment. And I think what we are all about is translating it into real life results. And for us, that really means putting it at the heart of where work happens, right? Inside business processes, grounded in business data in particular, right? So the goal is really faster decisions, less manual work, measurable business outcomes across the different things that you do as a company, right? Whether it's running your finances or driving for more optimal supply chain, helping your workforce really realize their full potential, or buying things in procurement, or even delivering amazing customer experiences. This is how we bring AI to life. This is how we make it very concrete and real. And my work centers
Yeah.
around not just transforming that, but together with our customers, helping them plan for this, strategize for this, implement it at scale, and really make it real. And it, of course, stands on our core foundation, our strategy for how to do it. And so we realize our AI strategy in 5 different pillars. Or think of it maybe as a sandwich with a top layer, 3 pillars, and a bottom layer, right? The top layer is really about making AI the new UI. I think it's one of the great promises that AI can really help us do is unlock the conundrum that we as humans have to adapt to technology and flip that 180 degrees so the technology adapts to us as humans, really making it a lot more relevant and consumable for everyone. Then, of course, we need to make AI real. We do that mainly in 3 ways. One, by embedding AI in business processes, by leveraging business data for innovating with AI, and lastly, by building industry-specific AI. And it means really that we put AI where work happens, inside the use cases in finance, in supply chain, in HR, to help our customers close the book faster, to manage their workforce better, develop them better, or run their supply chains more efficiently, leveraging the context and the business data. Or it means leveraging the insights from business data all across, but now using AI and even evolving business processes. I believe over time, actually, that the business process and the analytical layer will become one. And then lastly, it's really to leverage the more than 50 years of industry best practices in SAP to reinvent that and rethink that with AI in industry-specific AI. And all of this sitting on a strong foundational platform of data to give it the context. Because what we really need to make sure is we have trust by design in everything we do. Trust is how we scale things. Trust is how we secure the security, the privacy, but also compliance and auditability. All of these things that are very relevant when we think of AI sometimes as a black box for our customers to trust and scale their solutions.
Yeah. I love that. And I think the whole idea of AI becomes the UI, which again is answering the question of AI replacing me, but it's not that really. It's how I work with AI in my real world. And I love the way that you have broken it down. I think a lot of people have been struggling with visualizing what this looks like in the real world. So can I ask you to just share with us some real customer experiences, delivering real business outcomes, what this actually means in the everyday lives?
I think great cases are the one that deliver real business value, right? So it could be things that automate how you run your finance, or maybe become more resilient in your supply chain, or even more productive in procurement. So one example could be from one of our great customers, South Australian Power Networks. What they do is they maintain the power networks and drive the power networks for all of South of Australia, and they really sought for a better way to maintain this, but also how to inspect its vast network of the power grid, right, and all of its assets. So what it did was to really use AI to identify all the poles that would not have to be inspected, that were not succinct to corrosion. And actually, by using AI, they were able to identify 99% of these that were not really need for inspection. Because inspection is a very tedious process with a lot of pictures and manual work climbing up poles. And this hugely increased the efficiency, as well as using also AI to have a more efficient workforce embedded in their HR solutions, to really help them upload their HR policies and to make it very easy, making AI the new UI, for all the employees to understand and quicker get answers as to how they could move about and doing their work from an AI perspective, from an HR perspective.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think a lot of people, when they think about AI, really bring it back to the HR, the policies, the amount of documents that you have to read. So I love that as a real life example and how it's helping people. Another thing that people end up questioning is, how does this play out in private sector versus a public sector? Right. So can we talk about those differences, and if you've had customers on both sides, and how you're able to deliver that business impact today in both sectors?
I mean, public sector is to some extent not that different, but of course there are things that are different. But there's a lot of the relevant use cases that we see in the private sector that are definitely as well relevant in the public sector. For me, public sector, from my perspective, is a lot about the quality of the service you deliver, the case throughput, right? It's a lot about case and case management, of course, also around compliance, and of course around the workforce capability of what you do. And if you think about it, some very apparent cases that are already available we see scaling are things like intelligent document processing. So there's still a huge amount of documents that are either physical documents or, let's say, dead but digital documents, could be PDFs and others, that needs to be extracted intelligently. But also, for instance, you need to apply things like quality certificates to these intelligently in the same process on the fly. This is something that I see all across the use space that could speed up massively the case workload as a standardized feature. But it could also be things like helping managing the public workforce better, giving them the right way to develop and evolve and learn. And lastly, of course, things like procurement and especially budgeting. The whole budgeting process is a huge thing in the public sector that goes across whether you're a municipality or government agency. So managing your payroll, your finances, and your procurement as well. Some immediate cases here for matching payments as well that are out of the box available and very much relevant. And for me, it's not just about the cool bit, but the simple things, the things that really give tangible value, cycle times, and what's the cost to serve our citizens, and making better decisions measured in the P&L.
You mentioned there, you said out of the box, and I think again, making it tangible and real is, let's talk about what is out of the box currently. What do SAP Cloud solution customers have out of the box today?
But I think it's one good point is, as I mentioned, the document AI is a solution that's available. It's not something you have to code and set up. It's a solution available on our business technology platform that our great partners, like we have on our podcast, and our customers can consume today. It's embedded as a standard in our HR solutions, our finance and procurement solutions, but you can also use it as a standalone service for your existing processes. When I talk about things like development, creating your development goals inside our SuccessFactors HR module is a feature that you enable. So you activate it. You do not need to implement it. And that's what I mean with out of the box. That's very important. So it sits within the current process, the digitized process in the cloud-based software. And the same goes for, as we talk about budgeting and things like procurement. We have the use cases here to help you create a procurement event inside our procurement module in Ariba, for instance. Again, this is something you activate. We have done the heavy lifting of grounding it in, giving it the business context, and embedding it within the UI using Joule, our digital co-pilot, as the UI for all of our cloud solutions for AI.
Yeah. And perhaps again, this is a good pointer, is that it is sitting in there. It needs to be activated, and we're gonna have contact details of the contacts that you can go into at SAP and talk about this. But it is technology that is available to you. You don't have to get an extra license and an extra cost for it. It is just about simply activating it and starting to use it in your real world. So Joule technically today is available to your SAP Cloud customers.
Exactly, and as you mentioned, and also I believe we'll definitely put the link in the bio, we have a great online page where everyone can go in and see our array of the available use cases, more than 400 today, broken down by the different business functions, examples of value cases. And you're right, the point of these are not just idea catalog of things you can do. These are features that you can activate inside your existing SAP software today. And we, of course, will continue to evolve our roadmap. I would say if you kind of backtrack, we've been typically doubling every 6 months the amount of use cases. And we'll have also more than 40 agents available as we talk about that, where we begin to switch the game into managing more end-to-end business processes.
Perfect. Now let's pivot a little bit, because last year, if you remember, you were in the Great South Africa, and it wasn't cold then. I don't think it was cold at the time. I'm trying to remember Sapila last year. Yanni, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you were there
It
as well.
was, yeah, it was better than the previous year or the previous Afila, because that was cold. That was
We had
very cold. So
snow
even though
that
it's
day.
winter, exactly. Yeah. So even though it was in winter, it wasn't cold.
It wasn't cold. And I'm sure, Jasper, you're going to say it was better than where you come from
For
anyway.
Nordic
Even
standards,
our cold
it
can
was
never
very
compare.
amazing.
Yeah, and there you spoke to us a little bit about automation's autosapient, right? You had conversations there, and you were talking about how systems don't just automate, but they start thinking with us. Just tell us a little bit more about what happens when systems don't just when you don't just automate things in the system, but we use it really to think with us as we are delivering our work.
I think some of the key things, we talk a lot about these days about things like AI eating software and eating the world, right? I think we really got to break down what it means. First of all, it's not just eating software, it's about collapsing what I would call decision latency. It's about business decisions. I think it's a key thing to understand this concept that what AI does compared to other digitalizations is not about getting things done, it's about decisions, getting decisions done and delegated. So what does it mean? It means really move from I get a signal or something happens to my business, I make some decisions and then I act upon it, to the AI really enabling me to reflect upon what might happen and then proactively take an action. That's a key thing. It will also help us really not just improve workflows, but kind of collapse all the microeconomies around how you do work, actually, all the negotiations and things that people do. And not just about automating tasks, but truly becoming the institutional memory of an enterprise. So it means that net, when you take these three out, the decision velocity is accelerating almost exponentially, right? So instead of just waiting for meetings and reports and things that happen, recommendations kind of show up inside the workflow. So as you're doing things, you already get that recommendations, like your autopilot in your car saying you should be going over here. And that means that work then also will shift into more automation of things, and you are more like stepping in when it's needed, when you need to apply your human critical judgment. And judgment then becomes an absolutely crucial human skill as we move forward into this world. And then lastly, short term, we talk about productivity gains, and we can have a long discussion about it. We mentioned it earlier about how the role of AI in humans, by the way, I think humans will be promoted because this is really what's happening. The value of us is much higher. So we're going to move away from talking about productivity and using AI as a productivity gain to really changing the whole operating model, the foundation for how we structure organizations, whether it's public or private organizations, because we'll delegate a lot of the tedious work to not just AI, but also AI agents that are able to reason, act, decide, and especially deep agents do even more deep work. The catch for all of this, though, because there's a catch as always, is the foundation
Yes.
is not about intelligence, it's about trust. Because intelligence becomes cheap.
Yeah.
It's a commodity. The models are more or less a commodity. Availability is there. It really becomes about trust, right? Because trust is really what will hinder us in how much we will delegate to an automated decisions. So it's really about having the systems think with us, right? And then building in a great framework for trust at scale to really get the full value and get to this operating model change.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that you said there's a catch because I'm like, there has to be. It can't all
There's no free
be
lunch.
be the simple. There's no such thing as a free lunch. It's accounting 101. So, and I mean, I love this. There's so many things I took away here. It's not just eating software, it's about decision velocity, it's about us making decisions quicker. And I mean that as a CEO, you say absolutely. I want to be able to make decisions quicker. That's exactly what I want to do. But then you're saying the foundation of this is the framework, right? That helps us deliver AI at scale. But we need to think about the safety and the security of this, and perhaps let's talk a little bit around why that's the critical starting point for anyone who wants to move from automation to autosapient.
Yeah, but I think if you think about it, right, if you are the CEO of a company, right, you kind of tend to think of these people as someone who has to be the most clever person in the room because all the heavy decisions kind of tend to correlate towards the top.
Yes.
In an organization with humans and AI, I call them autosapiens, as you mentioned before, and where it really enables a whole new level of human AI collaboration, you're seeing the delegation. It's not just about us making quicker decisions, it's really about delegating decisions. So the role of the leader doesn't become the most clever person in the room, but to become the one who can design the systems that can best integrate and scale intelligence, right? So and it's a different role, right? It's a different role. So it has other capabilities, and here, of course, trust is the limiting factor, right? How much do I trust, and how that then, of course, depends on how well have you designed the guardrails and the transparency of your system, right? And you know it,
Yeah.
right? It's like when you get into an airplane, you look at it, you look at the pilot maybe and the airline, and do I trust it? And as an institution, we probably trust it, right? And it's the same, right?
Yeah.
Here's a very regulated industry, and that's why we trust it, right? Because we have an immense amount of guardrails. But then we don't think, we just get in and out in a very complex process. And it's the same, I would equate it.
I absolutely love that analogy. Absolutely, absolutely, Jasper. And I want to again going back to this AI framework, this building of trust, right? Is without that, you can't then keep up with the global AI revolution, right? It becomes super difficult. Can you talk to me about, again, why, if that foundation is not right, if your people do not trust it, how you essentially get left behind in the race?
Well, as I said, I think it's, as I said, model access is abundant, right? And cost of AI is dropping heavily. So that's not the limiting factor, right? The human cognitive limitations are really the limiting factor, right? So trust is key. It's also important to think about it in the concept of what's happening right now, right? Right now we see a lot of our customers all over have a great amount of interest in AI. I'm sure also with our partners trying it out, innovating things. But we also see a bit of pilot purgatory, right? We see a lot of AI pilots that are there but don't really scale. And I think a lot of the reasons that they don't scale is really the lack of trust or the lack of, let's say, scalability from the beginning in the design. Typically, it's also things like connecting it with the right data to give it the right business context. This is really, for many enterprises, it's not necessarily the trust in terms of is it transparent, but it's also about does it have the right business context to not just make the right generic decision, but the right precise decision. This is also where a concept now, neurosymbolic AI, comes in, which is becoming increasingly important to understand, which is really the combination of the great fluency that the large language models provide of third generation AI with the determinism that symbolic AI, mathematical symbols that really translates rules and procedures and actual data to make sure it is correct, comes together in the more mature world. And this neurosymbolic AI, I think, is really key to unlocking that trust at scale for companies, right? And you can also, of course, as you need to move forward as a customer, this is something we want to try and turn into something very relatable and concrete, leveraging our partners and ourselves to help our customers in AI discovery workshops to uncover how you can design such a framework for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that because it is about help then. It's about, okay, this information is all there. What do platforms like this platform that we have here or any other user group really, what is the role that we play in supporting SAP ecosystems to deliver this real AI impact in Africa? And what do you see? What would you say are the first 2, 3 things that we can do in helping to drive this as platforms like this, as a community of people, whether in Africa or any other parts of the world?
I think that it's clear the technology is there. It's mature. We will scale the use cases. As I talked about, the limiting factor is really the human cognitive element, right? So change management becomes a new competitive differentiator for many companies. So I think AFSUG can really become like a neutral force multiplier by aligning customers, by helping our customers understand and unpack the topic of AI, by preparing them for this change, by sharing reference architectures, great repeatable use cases, and also training for the different skills needed, right?
Yeah.
So you can accelerate the progress needed, right? Instead of everyone having to reinvent the wheel doing their own things, whatever is shareable, whatever you can do to level shift, which is the biggest challenge, I think, for the entire workforce into a new way of working. This is some great ways you can concretely accelerate this change. And so I see an amazing opportunity to step in and also increase the competitiveness and become a focal point, right? Because people are looking for great stories and and also
Yeah.
experiences, good or bad ones, right? To know what to navigate around to be successful here. So whether it's done through podcasts like this or webinars or hackathons, these are all great ways to make it real as an ecosystem, leveraging, of course, also our partners
Yeah.
and customer insights.
Yeah. Another way joining Yanni in this now is I know you guys have done some great work together, and you've worked with Step App House. And can you just tell us a little bit about the value and the impact? And we're going to unpack the tool a little bit just now, but just the value and the impact that you've seen the Step App House just providing to your SAP customers. That's with you, Jasper.
Oh, okay, with me.
That's
Yeah, I thought
still
so.
with Jasper.
Well, of course, I mean, around our EMEA region, we see customers leveraging the App House as a concept to really kickstart their AI projects and make it become real, right? To help them move from ideas to validated use cases, and also building working prototypes and more adoption-ready solutions, all leveraging human-centered design, of course, and also the business process knowledge that makes it valuable, right? Coming back to one of the very first points we talked about, right? What are the things you should be doing? You should be focusing on things that create business value, not just great, flashy technology stuff, right? And so the App House also have availability to all the latest SAP tools, the methodologies, as a concept, right? That's some of the things we bring into play. And then with our partners' expertise, they make it come alive in combining it with our customers' specific use cases. And I think you're very blessed also in South Africa to have an app house that could really help our customers deliver and translate, or even formulate the AI strategy and translate that into real life use cases.
Yeah, thank you. And perhaps let's just stop there because we've jumped into its benefit and what it's doing. And Yanni, coming back to you now to just explain exactly what it is and where it sits in the SAP ecosystem and what it looks like. What is the role in supporting us with our SAP tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So the App House, let's say the SAP App House is a global network of innovation spaces, basically. That is where we put people at the center of technology, and that's kind of the methodology there to do human-centered design. Here in South Africa, we have the EPU's App House Pretoria, and that serves as a bridge between, complex SAP systems and real-world needs of our local businesses and users. And the key is that we don't start with technology. We start with people, with pain points, with outcomes, KPIs that you want to achieve. And that in this world where you have AI left, right, and center, how do you still keep that human element in there? What Jesper said is that, AI is there to elevate us, not to replace us. And that's what we need to find is that sweet spot. And how do you do that? Is that you start with the problem, the people, and then you build
Yeah.
out from there and apply what you need to.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, the App House is sitting with all of the latest SAP AI data and information that we need, but it also is sitting with the leg of enablement for our customers. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely, yes. So even though at the App House, if you come to the App House and we can, assist you going through these processes, we get these fantastic toolkits from the App House network as a partner that we can help you say, okay, wow, AI agents were just released. Now what?
Yeah.
And we have the tools and the skills here to say, okay, we can help you. You have a KPI that your, CIO said you need to apply AI in HR. Where do you even start? And those things are there. Those toolkits are there to help you. And then even through the App House partner network, we as a SAP partner, we get access to, beta programs. So we see the AI agents in action and the skills in action way before it's released to the SAP clients.
Ah.
So we already have the skills. And as soon as it's released and boom, it pops up there as an entitlement in your BTP space,
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about what it is and what it can do. we can assist you with that, not just from a methodology point of view, but from a deep understanding of that technology and what it can offer. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where it sits.
No, it's amazing. And this then links back to your conversation. I believe it's a pillar where you said real problems, real people with AI. I believe that's what you were talking about. And I'm really keen to understand in South Africa, if you can give us an example of a customer or in a place that you guys are currently using this and how that's
Mm.
playing out in their world.
Yes, absolutely. So what we've done and what you mentioned now is kind of that real problems, real people space. What we've
Mm,
seen work there is that advice to our clients would be that you start small with something. You identify that those use cases that has high friction, that
yeah.
you want to solve, but it's easy enough to solve with the technology that's already available there. And from a UX UI perspective, the goal is to design AI as the AI experience that it feels like an assistant and not like a disruption, and
Mm,
then see your return on investment. And that's exactly what we've done with this client of ours. They are a big hospital group in South Africa. And they came to us and they had exactly, this process that they followed. They, first of all, identified, they said, let's start small. So they activated Joule. That was an easy enough step for them to do.
mm,
And then they looked at the use cases to say, okay, where are these high friction moments for us in user that loses time for something, context switching, re-entering data, those kind of things, right? They looked at those high friction moments, and we worked with them to then say, these are the 5 use cases that we are going to build for you using Joule Studio, because Joule is
mm,
already there.
mm,
Your success factors data is already there. Let's connect up all of these things, and then we create this differentiator for you as a company. Everybody has access to all of the fantastic, 400, more than 400 use cases out of the box from SAP.
mm,
But
mm.
now that you've done that and you've checked that box, you've identified what you want to activate. Now you're going to go to that next step, and that's where they are at the moment. Now we can do a little bit more. Now we can, do that custom thing, that thing that will make us better than our competitors in that sense. So where do you go from there? And that's where they are at the moment. And that's where you see return on investment as well. From the start
Wow.
to there, you'll see the return on investment.
Yeah, and I love that because again, it's leveraging what is already available and then enhancing your business, which is exactly to the point we're speaking about earlier. It's about improving our business, it's about doing things better. And maybe if someone you've kind of explained their journey, but maybe in more generic terms, if someone was to get started with this, what do we say to them? What is how do they get started? So they're also trying to get the success. What are the first couple of steps they can take?
Well, the first would be, I think, is a short conversation. It's either, contacting us, contacting SAP, just that there is somebody who can guide you if you don't have that skills internally already.
Mm,
It helps if there's somebody that knows the SAP landscapes, that knows the technologies, the limitations and the capabilities of the technologies as well, to kind of guide you through this process. And you can either just do that with a conversation, or we can, make it a little bit more fun with sticky notes and a workshop. So either way, you start the conversation somewhere, and that's what we would recommend. Because if you have that as a context, and you can say these are your needs, and let's help you align that with what is out of the box available from SAP. You're in the same ecosystem. Upgrading your system won't break your AI or anything like that. You stay in this nice little bubble. Let's help
mm,
you with that. And then when you can show, from your KPIs that we've improved by X amount of time or
mm.
saved so much time, whatever it might be, then you take it to that next step and say, okay, but what else can we do? And
Ah,
then you say, okay, you know what? This was a very pie in the sky or blue sky scenario for us.
mm,
Can we now make that, make that a reality with the AI that is available? So there is, from like there is from the SAP side the Joule stuff that is kind of included for clients already. That's just there. And then
mm,
the next step is to, you can get a full on workshop. We unpack your needs. We deliver the mapping from saying, this is what SAP already has, this is how long it's going to take us to activate it. Let's identify the users you need to activate this for. Let's talk to that user. We're going to activate this for your finance team. Let's just talk to them to understand, is this going to cover their pain points? Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic, it does. Let's go from there. So to do a workshop and talk to those end users and suggest, let's say, 3 or 4, things we're going to activate in Joule. That can start at a very, very low entry point. And then you can show return on investment and then take it further. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to spend millions on a
Exactly.
project that you're
Yeah.
not sure is going to show you return on investment. And
Yeah.
that's a crucial part here. And because it's so baked into the SAP system, that's why it works so well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's ultimately what you want. You want to maximize what you currently have. I'm hearing from you that it's really difficult to say right off the bat what are the time frames and what are the effort, but it's more a conversation that we need to start with. We need to understand your work, your place, where you are, and the people that you have, and the
Mm.
quick wins, if you want to call it that,
Yes.
that you can get out of this. And then from there, we grow and we grow and we grow. And what I'm hearing you say quite clearly is that you almost create a business case for yourself as you go along. Yeah?
That's pretty much it, yes. And I mean, it's still, even if you're looking at customizing Joule, that's what we've done now. And that wasn't a 6-month project, it was a 8 week from start and onboarding and to finish. And that's what you have because we can
Yeah.
do it that fast. The APIs are already there from SAP. The role management is already there out of the box. We know how to wire it up so that it works correctly, but it's a quick return and a quick, see what you've invested in. And that's what's so really, really great about that.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Guys, thank you. I want to cut us off here because I think we have had quite a great conversation. I think we've tackled a topic that is quite difficult and for some still a little bit scary and a bit ambiguous. But the simplicity in which you say it with Jasper and then Yanni, the tools that you guys have created to help contextualize and understand for the customers, how do we start, where do we go, is quite great. And I hope that this conversation has been useful. I just want to take 2 seconds to just ask you both to just share where people can find you. And if you just say to me, I'll just go and find you on LinkedIn and DM you, send you 100 DMs until you respond. But what is a better way for people to reach out to you? And Jesper, you can start first.
I think, as you said, LinkedIn is not a bad place because it's an easy way for everyone to reach us, right? But also through our local
Yeah.
great colleagues, also in our office, we have a great local representation as well, and as in collaboration with Yanni and our partners is also where we often would love to work with our customers. Look, I see this as an amazing opportunity for Africa, not just to copy what others are doing, but even leapfrog others by building an operating system, a rethinking operating system for how to scale AI with value. And that's what
Yeah.
really excites me in working with our customers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yanni, where can we find you?
I think definitely LinkedIn is a good starting point. Just add me there, message me at any point. I will add ask Amanda to add our details into the podcast here, and the description or something, email address and everything in there. So you guys can just contact us at any point. I'm yanni.kutsia. It's kind of the easy way at epuslabs.com. So it's a difficult,
Yeah.
it becomes a lot. So what we try to do there is just, we'll add the details in there that you can just click on an email address and get in touch with us. LinkedIn is definitely a way we'd love to connect
And I
further.
hope to be back soon
Yeah.
in the
And
country, at least to get for better weather for where I
Yes.
am. Right?
Be great to see you
you're
again.
more than welcome. And of course, I hope that we are able to find some of these stories. I think if people want to understand what you have done before and how it's worked out with other clients, definitely to reach out for those points. So it's not even a committal conversation. It's just to understand how this has worked out in other spaces. But other than that, I am very grateful for this conversation. I've definitely found it encouraging, and I hope that others have on this podcast. And we will see you hopefully Jasper soon. And
I'm
Yanni,
around.
you are just up the road, so we good.
I was
Thank you
around.
so much, and thank you for joining us today. Bye,
Thank you so much
Thank
everyone.
for
you very
having us.
much for hosting us.
Bye.